economic sphere as we examine the future of the Indian economy. The first time I set a foot in the classroom to teach was in the United States, and I was 20 years old, a graduate student in 1965, and I was teaching micro and macroeconomics as a graduate teaching assistant to the students. One thing that stands you well when you are teaching all your life is that you get older, but your audience remains the same age. And because the students remain the same age as the new students come in, that allows you to feel younger as well. So let me start by making some general remarks before we get into the details of the Indian economy, the responsibilities, challenges, opportunities. We need to view the Indian economy in the context of the global developments, because over the past 2 decades, Indian economy has become increasingly integrated with the world economy. We have learned how to use the world economy to our advantage to expand our opportunities for the billion-plus population and to prosper. So the global economy must be understood in the right spirit, in the right way, to try to see how it links with the Indian economy and what impact will it have on our future trajectory. I will try to weave in the current global economic crisis, which is on everyone's mind, and which is impacting India as well as the other countries in a fairly major way. 2009 and 2010 are going to be especially difficult periods. While a lot has been written and a lot has been discussed about the global crisis, it is important to understand the 2 fundamental reasons for the current global economic crisis and the way we will address it and hopefully overcome this crisis and move on to the sustained economic growth. Now, what have been those 2 really fundamental underlying causes which are interrelated, which we need to address? The first is that we have seen over the past 2 decades or so an inconsistency between globalization of finance, which is manifested in new financial innovations, credit derivative swaps, all the other type of new products that came in, and the increasing importance of finance in the economy as compared to the real sectors of the economy, which are agriculture, manufacturing, other services, and so on. As well as it was manifested in terms of the new financial players, such as the hedge funds, the private equity, and the sovereign wealth funds. India was toying for a while with the idea of whether we should set up a SWF, sovereign wealth fund. So we had inconsistency between globalization of finance on the one hand and the domestic national-based regulation of finance on the other. You cannot have a global activity that is going on and that is becoming very prominent with a lot of innovations and the regulation which is still at the national level, because then you will get a lot of regulatory loopholes and oversights through which a lot of practices which will occur, which will create systemic risk for the national and global economy. I'll give you only one indicator of how great was this inconsistency. If we look at the Federal Reserve of US, which is the central bank for the US, it was controlling only 10% of the total credit flows of the US economy. 90% of it, because of the financial innovations and because of the light regulation of the new financial institution, was beyond its control, including credit derivative swaps, all the other options, and so on. And therefore, if you are controlling only 10% of the total credit, then as a central bank, you are not able to regulate very effectively. And finance is one area where there is a systemic risk. Thanks to Dr. Reddy and his brand of very conservative financial management at the helm of RBI, India has been saved from the worst of this time. I have had a running battle with a lot of my friends who would argue that RBI is thwarting financial innovation. And I kept on telling them that they are doing the right thing because we have less room for downside risk. In every area, we need to think of reversibility. We are moving up. The kind of actions we take, we got to understand whether if the things reverse itself, whether we will be able to withstand that shock. That's called the robustness of the economy, the ability to take shocks. And because of Dr. Reddy's stewardship of the RBI, we are not in as bad a shape, though we are still affected, obviously, by the global crisis. So that's the first one. But if you have got this inconsistency in finance, how did finance get that big and get so much out of control? That is related to the second aspect, which is the macroeconomic imbalances. Basically, in a slightly oversimplified way, the macroeconomic imbalance was that United States and some of the other industrial countries were consuming far beyond their income, and they were saving very little. On the other hand, some of the mercantilist countries and the commodity producing countries, they were saving a great deal through export surpluses and through the current account surpluses. So China, for example, by keeping its currency artificially low and through various other means, was able to generate persistently large surpluses and have foreign exchange reserves of about $2 trillion as of now. Now that is a completely unnecessary level of reserves which they have, but that was a necessary part that they had to do for the overconsumption that the US was doing. Now that was an unsustainable situation where one country continuously overconsumes, other country is supplying the savings that it generates to the United States to continue that deficit in their